Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you a new series. What if Naruto was told about the Uzumaki Clan? From the beginning, guys. What if Hiruzen decided to tell Naruto about his clan? How would that change up his life? How would that change him? Well, a lot it seems. If you guys enjoy seeing 1C Part 2, go ahead and comment down below and tell me that you want to see Part 2. Or if you want to go and check it out for yourself, link will be down in the description for you guys to enjoy. And yeah, remember to also stay in tune for the What Ifs coming over Anime King 2 and Anime King 3. If you are new and you heard that, yes. You haven't mistaken, I have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping your support, and yeah, without further ado, with this we begin this new series. Start the intro. So, this story is gonna begin on the training trip with Jiraiya. But certain things before that are different. So I'm gonna be starting off with a flashback to show what happened before Naruto left on the training trip with Jiraiya. So let's get right into it. Hiruzen stopped at the door at Naruto's apartment as he knocked. He knocked twice and there was nothing. He then knocked 5 times and there was nothing. There was no response from the inside. But he was certain that Naruto was somewhere inside the building. He opened the door and walked in. It was always unlocked. There was a sign of danger painted on the door. Someone had put it there. Naruto had never bothered to remove it. Neither did he. But at least no one would walk inside the place. So Naruto never locked it. Not at night. Not when he was running through the village. Not when he was in the forest of death. The place was cold and silent. Hiruzen shivered slightly. He should be used to this. But this was his ritual when he came here. He had brought the TV over for Naruto, just to give the apartment some life. But Naruto hardly used it. The day he came over and left it on the channel. When he came back, it was still on the same channel, remote, still where he left it. So he didn't bother saying anything anymore. Hiruzen walked over to the small kitchen. The apartment was not really the best, but it had everything as he had made sure of it. Still, this wouldn't mean much. Even if he bought a large fridge, with Naruto by himself, it would just be filled with ramen. The damn villagers wouldn't sell him food. They wouldn't sell him anything. Since they couldn't touch him, they thought death by starvation was the best way to go about it. To some of them, it was just a fear of losing customers, as the customers would not buy in the same shop as a Kyuubi brat. Shaking his head, Hiruzen silently unloaded the grocery as he packed it in a fridge and cupboards. He did this every month. Perhaps it was him trying to reconcile for the way things had gone. But if he did not do it, Naruto wouldn't eat decent food. At least the blonde could cook. He had taught him how to cook. Once he was done, he looked around. The place was clean. Naruto was always clean. He was a miserable, lonely child, but he was clean. That was at least something good, but not something that made him smile. There were still so many problems that didn't look like they were going to go away, and there wasn't much he could do about it. He felt so powerless, and yet, he was called the professor. Hiruzen had solved so many puzzles. He had mastered so many jutsu. He had learned every single fire-based jutsu in the entire fire country. And yet Naruto was a puzzle that he could not solve. No matter how much he tried to build up the boy and tried to help him, the villagers would all change that with their glares and their murmurs. Minato would be so disappointed as he walked straight towards Naruto's bedroom. The door was not fully closed. Slowly he opened it as the door made a creaking sound. As he walked in, there was Naruto sitting by the window, a really small boy. He was just 5 years old, 11 months. His hands were wrapped around his legs as he was looking through the window outside. He had been here this entire time, just silent, never reacting. When did it start? How did he even come to this point? Naruto had been happy, he was smiling and used to laugh. But these days, he rarely went outside. He just spent all this time sitting by the window, and it pained Hiruzen. Naruto, he said, as he placed up a smile on his face for the boy. As Naruto did not react, until Hiruzen touched him by his shoulder, he almost startled him, lost in thought. As Naruto faced the old man for a moment, there wasn't much on his face. As he looked down towards the old man's hand, plastic bags with clothes inside. Well, he did need some of them. He turned his head back towards the window. There wasn't much to look at, just happy people, sending glares when they saw him. Is it that time of the month already, Naruto asks, in a quiet tone. The end month. The time for his allowance, new food, and to open up his hidden savings. The third gave him more than enough that he wanted, but it was a pity that he couldn't spend it everywhere. Most shops had a sign that said we don't sell to demons. Hiruzen nodded. I brought you something, he said. The man's tone was excited as it forced her to turn around. As the man looked like you want to tell him something. I've never seen you so excited unless you're reading that book that you keep hidden in your robes, JJ, said Naruto. Are you finally gonna let me see the book? Naruto asked. As Hiruzen placed the bag down as he came over and placed both hands on Naruto's shoulder. I'm sorry for not doing this earlier, Naruto, he said, as he stared into those confused blue orbs for a moment, before he pulled Naruto into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, he said, as Naruto stiffened a bit, as he was not really used to the contact that much. But the third did not let go as his arms came up and hugged by the old man. As he felt it, moment like these, something happened to his heart that he just couldn't explain. His eyes usually got watery, but the feeling was good. But he didn't usually get it all the time. As he hugged tighter. You're gonna suffocate me, Naruto. I'm still an old man, Hiruzen said, as he chuckled and pulled away. Naruto put on an embarrassed smile. Sorry about that, he said. Hiruzen was so happy to see that smile. All was not lost yet. Listen, Naruto, very carefully. You're not gonna tell anyone what I'm gonna tell you. And you're not gonna show anyone what I'm gonna give you. Do you understand me? Naruto nodded because he didn't have anyone he could tell. He had no friends. He had no family. Maybe he could tell the old man in the ramen stand, but that was that. Yet, he was confused. Why would the old man say he couldn't tell anyone when he had no one to tell? It wasn't that he hadn't tried. He had wasted hours, days, trying to make friends. But whenever he came close enough, their parents would always chase him away. Don't play with him, don't talk to him, their parents told him. And that always hurt his heart. And he just always sat by himself on that swing. The last friends that he made, they tricked him. They saw that he was eager to make friends, and they had sent him to the forest of death. He should have known that it was dangerous as he saw the signs on the fences. And when they were laughing, but he was just so eager to make friends, so he crawled underneath the fence. As the forest nearly killed him. The third wasn't amused as Naruto told him what happened. Hiruzen had swore that those boys would never become shinobis, and they never did. From that day, Naruto had stopped trying to make friends. Why, he asked. Do you trust me, Naruto? Naruto nodded. Yes, he said. Because it will do your life harm if you tell anyone. And I can't risk that, Naruto. I can't risk anything happening to you. There was a chance that people would make connections. No, they will make connections. He wasn't worried about the Fortikage enemies. He was worried about the villagers. They could reject the truth and try to harm Naruto for claiming otherwise. Yes, and that made him worried. The man reached into his robes and pulled out a photo. It was not framed, it was just a photo. As he handed it to Naruto, who took it. That, Naruto, is your mother. She was carrying you once it was taken. Like I told you, she died in the Kyuubi's rampage. Mother? Mother? Naruto thought. Her hair was red, a very beautiful shade of crimson. His hair was blonde though, and he didn't question that. For the first time, he had a mother. He had a mother. He was not the spawn of the Kyuubi. He was born of this woman. This beautiful woman. Those words, he had a mother, repeated 1,000 times in his head as tears streamed from his eyes. He felt relief. He felt happy. Hiruzen pulled out a shirt from the clothes that he bought as he looked towards the Uzumaki symbol. If it was gonna bring Naruto happiness, then he was gonna do it. He sat beside the blonde, but he did not say anything. Not until a couple of minutes passed. He didn't want to ruin anything for the blonde. Ruin the moment, as he saw that Naruto was still looking at the photo intensely. An envoy appeared and told him that there was an important meeting with his advisors. He brushed it off. He had more important matters to deal with right now. Her name was Kushina. Kushina Uzumaki. The same name as his, Uzumaki. As Naruto listened towards the third, he didn't want to miss anything at all. Most of your clothes have this symbol. You can see it at Konoha, joining vest at the back. This is a symbol of the Uzumaki clan. Your clan, Naruto. Your mother's clan. But before you get hopeful, no. There are no more Uzumakis out there. At least as far as I know. Your ancestral home, the home where your mother came from, was destroyed in a second Great Shinobi War. Hiruzen went on to tell Naruto the fame of the Uzumaki clan. Their history with the Senju. He told Naruto most things. It wasn't really a happy thing seeing that the home was destroyed, and Uzu was nothing more than just ruins. But he believed it would give Naruto a sense of belonging. No matter what people say to him, he would know that he came from a prestigious clan. And he had a mother. Jiji, would you take me to Uzu? Said Naruto. I want to see it. I want to see it. He said those words with hope and excitement. Hiruzen frowned, but he did not let it show on his face completely. It was one thing to be told about something than seeing it yourself. I will clear my day and take you there, but you cannot tell anyone about it. When we go, it will just be the two of us. No one in this village would know. Naruto nodded quickly. He will not tell a single soul. And that is how Hiruzen changed everything to Naruto. As we skip to the present time, Naruto was standing on a tree branch, his eyes closed, in the middle of the forest, trying to find Jiraiya, as the man was a master at erasing his presence when he wanted to. As Naruto's eyes were closed, picking up the air around him, he felt it shift as Jiraiya appeared. As Naruto's eyes were still closed, as Jiraiya flashed behind him in mid-air, Jiraiya's right foot weaved through the air as it moved towards Naruto. On his left hand, Naruto had a kunai as he ducked on the fast-coming kick. The moment it went above him, his body twisted aside as he leaped up in the air, getting away from a tree branch. Naruto landed softly as Jiraiya grinned as he faced him. As he saw the kunai on Naruto's left hand, Naruto was deadly precise with those. It was always coated with chakra. As Naruto threw the kunai, he just barely flicked it, but the speed that it traveled was incredible. Jiraiya quickly bent his body backwards, his eyes looking up at the sky as the kunai passed over his head. He felt the wind hit his face as it blasted past him. The kunai stabbed into the tree bark, but it did not stop. It blasted right through it. Jiraiya did not have time to adjust his body as Naruto flashed above him, Rasengan in hand. Jiraiya cursed the blonde's speed as Naruto slammed the Rasengan into the man's chest. When connected, the sound exploded into smoke. Fire release. Dragon fire breath. As Jiraiya appeared and breathed out a massive stream of flame. The flame rushed up in the air where Naruto was, still mid-air from the Rasengan. Looking at the incoming flames, Naruto moved his right hand across his chest. As he snapped his finger, a wave of his chakra was released from his finger. It was invisible to the naked eye. The wave blasted oxygen away. The effect only lasted for about 2 seconds. The flames died off just like that. They needed oxygen to burn, regardless of power and speed. As long as there was no oxygen, the flames would not burn. You're wide open, Jiraiya says. He appeared behind Naruto, still in mid-air. His left foot slammed onto Naruto's shoulder as the blonde was sent sailing away. As the force of the kick carried him, Naruto avoided wincing. Jiraiya attacks carry some strength behind it as he flipped several times in the air. As he was about to pass the tree branch, he stretched out both of his hands and grabbed onto it. He tried to flip over, but Jiraiya was in front of him in a second as the man punched him right in the chest. When the brutal punch connected, Naruto poofed away in the smoke. Jiraiya frowned as he flashed away. He landed beside the tree trunk as he looked around. As he sensed something coming fast, he couldn't even react in time as the kunai split. It sliced his cheek and split through the tree that he was beside. Jiraiya sweat as blood leaked from his cheek. His heart pounded a bit. That could have opened his skull if it was intended to do so. You're getting this truck, said Naruto as he appeared. As his right feet slammed into Jiraiya's chest, pinning him against a tree. With his foot still connected to Jiraiya's chest, Naruto formed a small Rasengan in the blink of an eye. As he retreated his foot, he was driving jutsu straight towards Jiraiya's chest. Jiraiya dropped his body to the ground as Naruto collided the Rasengan with the tree, breaking it. As the tree started to fall, Jiraiya swept away Naruto's leg, making him fall backwards. Jiraiya flashed above Naruto as Naruto crossed his arms, as the back of Jiraiya's foot slammed into Naruto's guard. As Naruto defends hold as he grabbed Jiraiya's foot before spinning around. He used the momentum as he tossed Jiraiya towards the tree. As he went through hand sign, wind release, wind bullet. A bullet of wind came from his mouth that slammed into Jiraiya and launched him backwards. The man back crashed into a tree with a sickening thud. In an instant, Naruto was in front of him, not easing up on his attack. He had a blade that was covered in wind. He swung it and sliced right through Jiraiya in a tree. But Jiraiya turned into a log. Jiraiya appeared behind Naruto, crashing down, his hands locked together to create a giant fist. As he slammed the fist down with all of his strength, hitting Naruto on his right shoulder, force caused Naruto to drop to his knees, dropping his blade. The Sani wasn't done. The moment he touched down, he landed a brutal kick on the back of Naruto's head. It was brutal. It forced Naruto to hit the chunk of a tree that he just cut with his forehead. Sense of dizziness gripped his mind for a moment as his vision blurred. Jiraiya grabbed Naruto with one hand and lifted him up in the air by his throat. Shall we call an end to it, Jiraiya said. Too soon, Naruto muttered. As Naruto grabbed Jiraiya's arm, he gripped Jiraiya's arm with so much force the blood. Jiraiya's arm stopped flowing. As Naruto wrapped his leg around the man's arm, the Sannin cursed as he slammed Naruto on the ground. There was a loud boom as Naruto's back crashed on the ground. But he did not let go. As Jiraiya started to tap the ground. Stop, you're gonna break my hand. Do something about it, Naruto yelled back. You shitty brat, if you break my hand, I won't be able to do research properly. That is worse than death. Naruto shrugged. It will save you from pain, and women will have their dignity back. Jiraiya curses, used his free hand to form a hand sign as his hair extended and wrapped around Naruto as he launched the brat away. As Naruto flipped several times, an earth spike came from the ground. He pushed himself back with chakra, using his fingertips. The spike missed him just by a whisker. Jiraiya expected this as he was upon the blonde in seconds, as he channeled chakra into his foot and slammed it into Naruto's face. The kick lifted the blonde off the ground, but before he could do anything, Jiraiya grabbed his right foot and twirled him and slammed him through a tree. As Jiraiya appeared in front of him, not giving him time, as he drive a punch straight towards his chest. Jiraiya felt it at last moment, the spike of chakra, as he tried to retreat as Naruto exploded into hundreds of small wind blades. Jiraiya landed distance away, but before he could even look around, he felt the air leave his lungs. Naruto was standing a distance away from him with a bleeding face, but he was sucking all the oxygen around Jiraiya away. As it became harder and harder to breathe, Jiraiya dropped towards his knees as he clutched his chest. He was gonna pass out, but there was no relief when he stopped as Naruto slammed his wing enhanced foot into Jiraiya's forehead. Jiraiya guessed it was payback for his earlier kick, as his head trembled violently. His vision blurred as dizziness took over his sight. He didn't even feel it as he hit a tree with his back. His senses came back as something slammed into his gut, causing him to cough out saliva. The attack were enhanced with wind. It wasn't like Snaddy, but they did damage as well. Naruto collapsed on his butt as well, as he wiped the blood off his face, as he needed to rest. Once the pain was over, Jiraiya leaned against the tree trunk as he looked towards his hand. It had several cuts over it. He applied medical ninjutsu to stop the bleeding. The cuts were not deep, so they closed. As he looked over towards Naruto, the breath was improving. He was getting better and better by each month. This training trip had been the best option for Naruto. If he hadn't done this, he wouldn't have gotten closer to his godson. He wouldn't have been producing another shinobi that would surpass him. It was still early days, but one day Naruto will surpass him. He'll be better than him. Jiraiya was incredibly proud. Minato had been a genius, but Naruto had the potential, and he used it towards his advantage. And the blonde was willing to learn anything. I am no longer gonna take it easy on you, said Jiraiya. The last hits were unpleasant. It's been a long while since someone hit him so hard. I told you to bring your A game, even Senjutsu if possible. I would kill you with Senjutsu, said Jiraiya. And I am soon gonna cripple you if you're not careful, said Naruto. Jiraiya frowned at that. That was true, he could not deny it. It was not arrogant speaking right there. It was a literal fact. Before their training ended, Naruto was gonna leave him bedridden for a couple of days. They did fight with the intention to kill. There was no friendly. You could break a leg. That was a part of the training. Part of fighting experience. Your reflexes are good and your speed has improved. But you need to stop leaving gaps between your attacks, said Jiraiya. You also leave yourself open each time you snap your fingers. It is only for a second, said Naruto. When fighting against normal shinobi, I can recover quickly. Do not take comfort in that. You will fight people that are even faster than me. And if they are faster, they will not take a lapse of concentration. If you cannot work on the problem, it is best that you leave that jutsu for emergencies. I think that will be best, said Naruto as he went silent for a moment. As he spoke, it required maximum concentration, and I must stop breathing momentarily. For you, it might be seconds, but for me, it's minutes. Well, it's still a work of genius, Jiraiya said. It basically take away the attempt of anyone using fire ability against you. When are you going to broaden your arsenal? You can't be satisfied with just wind. And that aside, wind is weak against some elements. You must always be ready to adapt to any changes, and using different elements are needed for that regard. I can work something out with fire, given my expertise knowledge on the element. Fire-based jutsu should be minimum effort for me. As Naruto got to his feet, I will send a letter to Snaddy for her to send us some fire jutsus. Come on, let's get back to the town, Jiraiya said as he looked at himself. This is gonna drive away customers. Don't flatter yourself, said Naruto. You're not pleasant even when you are clean. Jiraiya glared at Naruto hard. Neither are you, he spat. Naruto shrugged. I've never been pleasant to look at. I've already accepted that. But you on the other hand seem to be struggling with denial. You should go sit in a dark corner and repeat to yourself over again. I'm not pleasant to look at. I'm not pleasant to look at. Perhaps it will click in. Jiraiya glared at Naruto hard. As a cold, dark humor, sometimes he questioned Naruto's sanity. But he knew there was no harm. He was used to it. They will be laughing any moment. It has always been like this. At least he was with his godson. Who else did he had? The third was gone, and that had truly shattered the blonde. The old man was everything Naruto, and when he died, Naruto had suffered. And then there was Sasuke, that cursed Uchiha. Thinking of him made Jiraiya angry. Well, since they left Konoha, Naruto has not brought up the subject though. Not once, not ever. Hell, the blonde didn't even talk about Konoha, and Jiraiya did not push. But they will have to talk about it sooner or later because they had to head back to Konoha. So with that, the both of them headed back to the town, as Jiraiya was thinking about what they had to do next, and Naruto was thinking about certain things in his life. Once they reached a motel, Jiraiya took a shower and changed his clothes. There was going to be no rest for him as he was going out, and likely not to return for the night. Naruto did not question it. He knew what the Sannin was going to do, and they chose this town because of their fun activities. There were casinos, brothels. This was Jiraiya kind of place, as he always made the girls laugh, enjoy, when he told them about his stories about the elemental nation, about his journeys and his adventures, to make himself look over the top. As Jiraiya had a smile on his face, he was gonna have some fun. The past 4 days had been spent training rigorously, so he figured that he needs some fun time. Jiraiya moved over to the window. We're going to leave this town in the next couple of days. They never stay at the one place for too long. The longest Naruto remembers staying at that place was 2 months. We have stayed long enough, and I'm certain by tomorrow, you will no longer be able to walk in the streets with a woman and their husband chasing you. Jiraiya glared at Naruto. It happened at their last village, as he had to depart early. He wasn't going to return to that village again. He would be burned on a stake like a witch if he returned to that place. There were some wanted photos of him in some good spots. And whose fault was it that I was nearly killed? Naruto shrugged. You left without giving me money for food. What the hell was I supposed to eat? You're a man, you need to make a plan. And you didn't have to expose me like that, said Jiraiya. I wouldn't need to make a plan if you hadn't lost your wallet and I was forced to bail you out when you were running from that conquest that you had finished. A smile came to Jiraiya's face as you remember that day. That was a truly blessed day. The woman had assets just as big as Navi, and she was just there in the water, completely revealed. As a blush came on the man's face, remembering, when I come back, be ready. I'll look for a mission we can do, and it will be difficult, said Jiraiya. Naruto sighed, so you're gonna be gone for a couple of days. Jiraiya nodded as he looked towards his wallet. Before looking back at Naruto, he looked back down towards his wallet. If he did not give Naruto enough, Naruto was gonna hunt him down and make his time hell. As he counted a few bills and placed them down. I put enough for food and some fun, he said. With that he waved as he jumped through the window. As Naruto walked over the window, Jiraiya was already gone. As he sat down, as he rests, one of his hand on his knees, the other leg on the ground, as he glanced through the window, as he saw the streets full and bustling down below. The past 16 years of his life hasn't been dull. There was always something happening. Had it not been for the old man, it would have probably been chaotic. But when he saw those mothers, he remembered his own mother, the woman that gave birth to him. Now he knew he had a father. The third had left it as his last revelation before he had died. A rather painful experience, as it was. Losing the one that you care about, the one who will save your sanity. Jiraiya had came in and talked to Snavi. After a couple of months of solitude and misery by himself, Jiraiya had took him, and it has been 2 years now. And he's been running around the elemental nation with the Sannin. He had seen many things, many people. He saw the shamefulness of Jiraiya, and he learned how to drink. He had learned how to speak to women. He was still young, but his body was growing fast. Then again, the old man always ensured he ate healthy. After an hour, a bird flew inside and landed on Naruto's shoulder. As it had a scroll for him, he took the scroll as the bird stood in the window, just watching him. It always did that every time it came. As Naruto opened the scroll and channeled chakra, poof, another scroll appeared, another storage scroll. He channeled chakra on the seal, and 5 mountains of paper appeared. He blinked, work. It always came for him wherever he was. For 5 hours without break, Naruto did the paperwork in front of him, as he sealed them back in the scroll, as he wrapped it in the bird leg. Do you need something to eat? Naruto asked. The bird nodded as Naruto went and got some bread and water. As the bird finished, it looked thankful. As Naruto nodded, safe journey, he said, as the bird flew away. As Naruto went and took a nap, by the time he woke up it was dark out. As he took the bills that Jiraiya left for him and left, he was already familiar with the town. As he stopped at a local bar, there was a guard at the entrance. He was to guard against children walking inside. As Naruto was still 16, still underage, but he was a shinobi. Those rules did not apply to him. When the large man saw his headband, he moved out of the way. The insides were dimly lit, and the noise was loud. Well, if you couldn't handle the pressure, just stay away from it. That is what a certain lady had told him, he remembered. As Naruto ordered 4 bottles, as he took them and made his way over towards a corner table. As he sat down, the alcohol, Solitude, a perfect combination to drown your bitterness. Time skip. Konoha, it has been 2.5 years since Naruto and Jiraiya left the village, and there has been no word on when they will return. Her friend hadn't even been returning. He sent letters every now and then, but they never showed up. Even now, she was looking at his letter. Snavi missed them. She really missed the two. They had brought her back to the village, and now they were running around the elemental nation without her. Her whole life. She hoped that Jiraiya wasn't teaching Naruto how to gamble though. She had permitted them to go away, because Naruto wasn't the most happiest of people. He was actually miserable. The third death had affected Naruto deeply. And from what you remember, the old man had been the person to talk to Naruto to be his first friend before he met a couple of them at the academy, and it wasn't easy on him at all. Jiraiya said that he was fine, but she was concerned. After all, Naruto was family in a way, as he was a son of Kushina, who had been from her grandmother's clan. And Kushina was close to Mito as well. She was no one beside Mito when she died. It was Kushina, as she considered Naruto family. Tsunade placed a letter on top of her desk as she tapped her fingers. Something wrong, Tsunade-sama, asked Sakura. Tsunade glanced towards Sakura. The girl had grown. Well, she had trained her well, but she was still obsessed with Sasuke, that rotten child. He had been spoiled rotten. From what she knew, she didn't understand why the villagers adore him. She didn't see why girls like him. He had a cold personality, and he was rather rude. Did the girls really like him like that? If someone said that they were brainwashed, Tsunade wouldn't disagree. Sakura had been willing to throw a fit if someone said bad things about the Uchiha. That damn Uchiha. No, I'm just worried about Naruto. It has been 2.5 years now, and from what Jiraiya said, they're still training. He's even rehearsing scrolls to continue with Naruto training. She said with a frown. Sakura looked toward her master, Naruto, her teammate, the boy that she had been cruel to in her younger days. Even Sasuke had yelled at her, telling her that she did not understand anything. She had been hurt that day, but she did not understand why Sasuke gave her that reaction. No, she did. She had been cruel to him. She never acted like a teammate. There had been some good memories, but when she thought about her attitude to him back then, it bothered her badly. Perhaps it was because now she understands things about him. She knew his story. She knew why he got along with Sasuke. They were both lonely people. They didn't have anyone. And back then, she had done something terrible. She had mocked Naruto for not having parents. Sasuke did not have his either, but she had considered that his had died. Naruto had never known his because he was an orphan. And she had never considered Sasuke and Naruto as the same thing. But Sasuke lost his parents as well, and he was alone as well. How is he? Sakura asked carefully. Jiraiya never explained in details, but he said that he's fine. Tsunade said a bit bitterly. Sakura was surprised. So he has never sent you a letter? No, not even one since he left. I've only been hearing from Jiraiya. If this continues, I will order them to come back. She didn't say anything as Shizune came in the office, holding stacks of papers. Tsunade frowned. Why do you have to bring that load now? I just finished another one. It's gonna pile up if I leave it. There's also this. As she handed the report to Shizune, Tsunade looked at the report before frowning. Troubling news. She didn't need it now. She placed it inside the drawer. She handed the letter from Jiraiya to Shizune. Please make sure you get everything on the list. I need to send them to Jiraiya. Shizune looked at the list. She left quietly, without saying a word. Once she was gone, Sakura took the opportunity to ask. Anything on Sasuke? Asked in a rather hopeful tone. Tsunade shook her head. Still nothing. Well, he's with Orochimaru. He's rather difficult to track down. But we must find him. The time is coming for Orochimaru to take bodies. And if we don't act, he might take Sasuke's. And that will be over for the Uchiha. Sasuke-chan won't let that happen, Sakura said. Tsunade merely stared at her, as she sunk down and she became nervous. Do you think he will? That is the only reason Orochimaru gave him the curse mark, said Tsunade. That aside, Sasuke did tell Naruto that he will sell his soul to the devil to gain power to defeat his brother. If it means giving his body to Orochimaru to kill Itachi, then he might do it. I wouldn't even be surprised if Orochimaru managed to twist Sasuke to make him get his revenge for him. Sakura froze at that. If that happened, she would never see him again. He would become Orochimaru. They really had to find him. Can't you ask Jiraiya-sama to do something? I didn't want to burden him, but looks like we have no choice, said Tsunade. 4 days later, Jiraiya had returned in the afternoon. As he saw Naruto sitting by the window, it was rather strange. Even when they were about to leave, Naruto would get up and went straight towards the door. He would never take the window to leave. It was rather strange. That took you long enough. I had stepped out of the town to receive some information, said Jiraiya. You know my network is very busy. I know. You sometimes leave for a month chasing down shadows. What have you discovered this time? His tone was bland. That was the thing about him. You could never tell if he was actually serious about learning something. If he didn't seem interested, he was not. Or was he? But he was just faking ignorance. It was strange. It's about Uzu, Jiraiya said, as he looked towards Naruto's reaction, but it was completely normal. My ancestral home, said Naruto. Lately there's been many rumors going on about Land of Whirlpools. The village had been reborn, but no one knew who did or how it came to be. Suddenly one day, people heard rumors, and the Wave Country confirmed it, because they trade with the village. What bothered the people was that the land was being led by the unknown, someone who they call the Emperor. No one had seen him, not even the people in the village. Well, considering how the village saw its end in the Second Shinobi War, I'm certain some people are very nervous, said Naruto. Jiraiya nodded. The village was destroyed back then. They hadn't done anything to anyone. The Uzumakis didn't fight in any wars. They were peaceful. but yet they were incredibly powerful. People got so nervous about their power, they plot their complete destruction. Now there was just remnants of the clan, but with the village restored, did that mean there was many other survivors out there? And they come together and regroup. The Hidden Stone is the one that is most agitated, Jiraiya said. They are concerned because if it's really the Uzumaki, they might have an enemy with a grudge. That is one way to look at it, said Naruto. Jiraiya raised eyebrow, as Naruto's Uzumaki as well. Despite not living there, it was his mother and social home. How would you look at it, he asked. Naruto shrugged. My clan was peaceful. They did not support wars, and they did not fight. They were allies of Konoha, but they never took in the war. They didn't start trouble with anyone. They were in their village peacefully. Yet some people felt threatened and decided to destroy them. How would you feel about that, Sensei? Naruto asked. As there was no anger, no emotion, his tone was just blank. But there was curiosity in his eyes. It's a difficult question, but you can't say what Stone and its ally did was just. Because it was wrong, in every sense of the word. Yet nothing was done. Not even by Konoha, said Naruto as he looked through the window. Our world is not fair at times, Sensei. People with power always do as they please. Sometimes right is decided by those with power. I know that. Believe me, I know, said Jiraiya. There was bitterness in his tone. This is why it is my desire to change this world. The man said with passion in his tone. I admire your passion, Sensei. I'm sure my father shared it as well. Of course, Jiraiya said with a grin. It is why he named you after the hero of my first book after all. Ah yes, that book. You said my father liked it. I think I like it as well. Perhaps for a different reason, but Naruto was going to say. So what would you have done in that situation, Sensei? He asked. In a world that you desire, would you allow the Stone and the allies get away with what they did? Their action is nothing but a slaughter of innocents. I say this, but not because it's my clan, but from what I've heard. Jiraiya shook his head. I don't know, he said. The Hidden Stone will say that they were justified, and they would not back down. Anything more forceful would just result into more bloodshed. But if you had listened to me, you would know even I don't still have the right answers. Which is indeed a pity, said Naruto. What about Kiri? They should be the ones to be most worried. Well, Kiri is a bit far, and we don't generally go there. They were locked up in a civil war, but I heard the war was over and a new Kage has been named. I will go there sometime, said Jiraiya. Naruto said nothing on the subject, he just asked. What is new on the information you received? Nothing much. There are still too many things we don't know. Getting inside is nearly impossible. I will have to go there myself. But since it is something that will require time, I can't do it now because I would have to be away from you for a long time. And there are dangers. Spies get killed there, said Jiraiya. I want to focus on our training now, but I'm checking the Hidden Stone movements. What are they doing? Nothing right now, but they're watching. I know, they might prepare their forces if they feel they're going to be attacked. Kill them first before they kill you, said Naruto. It was a cold truth. Jiraiya could only grunt in response. What would you do if it came to that? I don't know, said Naruto. You said we would do a mission when we leave. Jiraiya nodded. Are you ready? And let me correct you. I never said we. As Naruto raised the eyebrow, I don't think I like the sound of that. Jiraiya merely smiled. There's nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, at the sound, Orochimaru chuckled to himself as he watched Sasuke fight. As he was currently sitting on his throne, the Uchiha was excelling and moving faster than he anticipated. He was right after all, the Uchiha was a good candidate. But then again, he was never wrong, was he? He was usually right because he made calculated moves. Kimimura turned out as a failure because of his illness. But Sasuke was perfect. The Sharingan would finally be within his grasp, and he would make sure the body lasted. It was a pity he could not just grab Sasuke and place him on a table and start to dissect his body to find out what happened to Uchiha's body. Well, he just had to be patient. He would do it once he gained the body. After all, he did not have a problem with cutting himself up. Kimimura coughed into his fists. When he opened his hand, he saw blood. With that, he frowned. This body of his has reached its limits. He needed another host. He couldn't even move that freely. And very soon he'd be bedridden, unable to move. Kabuto walked up to him and gave him his medicine before glancing towards Sasuke who was fighting in the chamber. He's improving splendidly. Should we inform of Naruto improvements as well? Let us leave that for now. It might come in handy as a form of motivation. Did you bring what I asked for? Kabuto nodded. I also found something interesting that you might like to know. And what is that? It is apparent that Gurren has once more surfaced in Usu. Oh? Orochimaru blinked. That was interesting, of course. His former number 2 had vanished from him, along with that boy Yukimaru. He hadn't bothered chasing after them because they were no longer useful. Gurren had done what she had to do. The only thing she was dangerous about right now was information that she might have on his bases, or things that she knew. But she has been gone for a year now and nothing has happened. So he thought that he was safe. That aside, he was surprised that she went to join another village. Well, that could be troublesome, since we don't know anything about the village. Have you sent someone? Orochimaru asked. Yes, but they did not come back, said Kabuto. Well, that's interesting, Orochimaru said. I could go myself, but at this point, I need to be by your side, said Kabuto. Yes, he needs Kabuto at these moments. Soon he was gonna be bedridden, and his movements would be restricted. There is something I prepared, but I'd rather not use it unless there's no other choice. I'm not gonna be like this forever anyway, but if Gurun was here, I would take her body and continue to nurture Sasuke-kun until he was ripe for taking. Call him, Orochimaru said. Kabuto called him. As Sasuke walked up his fully mature Sharingan, looking at them with so much patheticness, it made Orochimaru smile with glee. What? I have a mission for you, Orochimaru said. I finally leave this cave, Sasuke said. Sasuke accepted that scroll from Kabuto. Everything is in there, Orochimaru said. It is merely a test of your strength. I want to see if you can succeed smoothly before changing the tactic of your training. Time skip. River Country. As Naruto was sitting under a tree, he was sitting in a meditative position with his eyes firmly fixed on Jiraiya. Plans were drawn on the ground. Naruto had orders to do everything while Jiraiya watched. Jiraiya said that he wouldn't comment, he would just watch. Even if Naruto was making a mistake, he would not say anything. Not until the mission was over. Jiraiya told him he had to make sure no innocent people die, and if it happened, he would have to live with it. The village close to them was being occupied by criminals, scums, who were here for the loot. The village of Takamai had sent for help, and it was up to Naruto to remove the scums. There were 30 enemies, but they were mostly just bandits. 10 were shinobis, but nothing strong that would cause him any real trouble. The danger here was he had to make sure they did not kill the village people. If he made the wrong move, they will kill them, and the mission would be a failure. The leaders were located in a small bar, having a meeting. This was a perfect opportunity to strike, when all of the leaders were one place. 7 were doing patrols around the village. He could easily handle those with his clones. 5 were guarding the daughter of the village leader, where they were demanding a ransom. They were all in different locations. He had to strike quickly. The rest of the villagers were in their homes. They were told not to make any moves. Remember, Naruto, if you just leave these people, they're going to harm more people. If there was a mass jail for criminals, we would capture them and send them there. But we don't have that. Killing is part of the job. Just don't make it feel natural for you. It's not natural. Life is precious. But as shinobis, we cannot avoid it. You don't always have to kill. You can determine what is safer. Naruto had shed blood before. It had been horrible. He did not mean to do it. The man was a bandit, and Naruto had put too much strength in his hands, and he ended up snapping the man's neck. That sickening crack when the man head that twisted. The light left the man's eyes. But Jiraiya was there for him though. Jiraiya was taking him through this, to make sure he would not freeze and risk the life of innocent people locked up in their homes. Yes, he was helping him. Because at any moment now they were going to run up the people, and use them as shields so shinobis won't attack. This was why he had to move now. I know, Sensei. Wish me luck. Just use your head. This is not a battle that you won because of physical prowess. You might have the power and still lose. Just know sometimes you have to put aside all that power and use a kunai to get the job done. As Naruto nodded, he stood up. 2 minutes, he said. A minute is more than enough for you, said Jiraiya. You have your shadow clones to help you. Since the enemy is weak, that is more than enough. But 2 minutes it is. As Naruto jumped onto a tree. He would have preferred to just walk in the village and crush the enemy, but he had to be subtle. There were not more than 15 houses here. It was a mining village, but the gold had run out. The bandits did not know. Imagine their disappointment when they find out. Multi-shell clone jutsu, said Naruto, as he created 7 clones to deal with the bandits standing guard. He created 11 to guard the houses. Once the clones dispelled after completing their duties, Naruto ran. As his run was smooth like a gentle breeze. He didn't make a sound as he hopped from rooftop to rooftop, as he landed behind a group of 4 bandits. Hey, what? He did not allow them to say anything as he moved in the blink of an eye. As he leaped over the man, 3 kunais were thrown in 3 different directions. The kunais hit straight on the forehead in their targets, pierced right through as Naruto grabbed the man, holding onto his mouth to stop him from screaming. Others dropped to the ground as Naruto hit the man in the back of the neck. As he was knocked out cold, the villagers will deal with him, as Naruto tied him up before he disappeared in a small gust of wind. The house he appeared in was a standard double-story house. The target was upstairs, with 5 guards, or 10 of them downstairs drinking while playing cards. They were laughing and having fun while the villagers cried in their houses. Villagers were thinking that any moment now they might be killed, and yet these men were here laughing with joy. As Naruto went behind the house, as he peeped through the window, the girl was small. She was crawled up in a corner, trembling, tears in her eyes. People were truly ugly, weren't they? An innocent child and did that to her. Well, he was innocent as well. A child younger than she was, and ugly people had tormented him. He needed to get in silently, and time was taken away. As he held a single hand sign, his sunshine right in the room. 5 kunais were in his hands as he twists, hitting all of his targets. Bandits did not see a damn thing. They fell lifelessly on the floor as Naruto walked over to the girl and He gave her a warm smile before whispering something in her ear. She tensed. She was afraid. He created a clone that picked her up and left by the window. He took it as a smoke bomb as he made his way downstairs, as he threw it on the table where the 10 were playing cards, as it poof, covering the room with smoke. All of that happened within seconds. Everything occurred. As Naruto walked out, hands in pockets, as he arrived to where the leaders of the bandits were gathered, and knocked on the door. A rather large man opened the door. As he dwarfed Naruto, he was large and tall. What, the man said, before he noticed Naruto in the headband. They sent a brat. A brat? The man looked insulted as Naruto hopped gently and slammed his fist into the man's face. Despite his size, he was thrown, smashing into the wall. Teeth falling out of his mouth, his nose bleeding harshly. Naruto stepped into the room. They were all large, ugly men. They were those kind of perverts, pedophiles. He counted them calmly before greeting them. They were not surprised or alarmed, as all of them were large. All of them had scars over their faces and their hands. Konoha Shinobi, one of the men, said with a frown as he looked at Naruto's forehead protector. Is it true? I heard even young leaf shinobis are strong. One of them asked with a grin, as they could handle him. He's just one kid. And it was a lot of them. Between mob justice and quick death, what do you prefer? Naruto asked in a calm tone. We picked neither option, they said. The first one launched towards Naruto, his feet up, ready to slam into Naruto's face. Naruto sidestepped the large foot and raised his hand, channeling chakra through it. As he waved his hand, the man cried out in pain as his leg was cut off from the knee down. You like a shit. Another one yelled as he swung a right hook towards Naruto. As Naruto caught the man on his arm, as he avoided the punch, and a chakra through his fingers as he pressed down. There was a sickening crack. The man cried out in pain as he grit his teeth hard. Last man appeared behind Naruto as he was about to crush Naruto's skull with both hands. Naruto turned and slammed his elbow into the man's stomach. As Naruto pulled out his kunai as he was a shinobi, and he had to finish this, as he ended quickly as he walked out. Minutes later, Jiraiya walked up to Naruto. I can't complain, he said. You okay? Yes, said Naruto. Where to now? I doubt we're gonna stay here. Takamai, to collect our payment. You know someone have to pay for our living expenses. We will stay here for a couple of days before deciding where to go. I have to wait for something. Our payment? Naruto asked a raised eyebrow. It is my payment, Sensei, and I'm not sharing. I'm the one who find the mission. We're a team. Takamai hired the both of us, and they will pay the both of us, Jiraiya said. You should have asked the terms before you did anything. Well, I can always tell them that you did not do anything, and you don't deserve to get paid. They should believe me. You wouldn't, Jiraiya said. As Naruto smiled, of course not. I wouldn't do something like that to my beloved, perverted sensei. Time skip. When Naruto first met the Biju, inside of him, he was terrified, he was frightened. Not because of those huge eyes or his size, but the amount of malice the Biju could send his way from a single look that made his body shake with fear. As Naruto had never felt something so powerful. Over the years he learned that it wasn't him alone that the Biju hated, but humans in general. The poor beast was forced to remain caged because of his power. It was a sad thing, really. Of course, Naruto did not pity the beast. He didn't really hate it either. As he gently touched the waters, those huge eyes opened up. People were missing out, thinking that Bijus were nothing but power and destruction, a weapon to be used. But no, they were far intelligent beings. Those eyes. I wonder if you stare at my mother as you do with me. She never visited. Unlike with you, her seal was designed to simply suppress my power. The same can be said about Mito. So they all never use their power. They just kept you at bay, said Naruto. The first words were that he had nothing against me, but I was too powerful to be left alone. So his wife sealed me within her. I have been confined for years. Are you thinking of ending my term? The fox asked. Those attempts. The Biju always attempt him to let it go, to free it so he can once again walk in the open world. But Naruto wasn't stupid. Releasing the Biju meant his death. He did not have the full genes of Uzumaki to survive extraction, like his mother did. My clan was also destroyed for being too powerful. I guess we have something in common there, said Naruto. But that is not why I'm here. My power, said Kurama. Naruto was just like all humans. He wanted his power. He was the first Jinjuku to actually use his power. But it did give him a sense of freedom. Seal held him, and if Naruto was willing, he could tap into as much chakra as he was willing to draw out. Naruto nodded. I wish to learn how to control it once more. Kurama grinned. I thought, after you nearly killed that hermit, you wouldn't want to try it again. Naruto simply shrugged. It would be rather stupid of me to leave this power like this. You are strong, and I am your host. It doesn't matter, neither of us had a choice in this union. The fact is we're together, and I'm going to learn how to control their chakra. I'm not stopping you, said Kurama. Yes, because when I use the chakra, the seal weakens. I've been studying seal since I was 7, said Naruto. Although the old man never taught me anything special. He introduced me to Fuinjutsu and said that it was a legacy of the name I carried, so I know what happened with the seal. And I know that you laugh gleefully once I lose control. Cram looked at the blonde before he laughed menacingly. You lose control because you can't handle my chakra, human. Naruto shook his head. Yes, your chakra is potent and deadly to the human body, but it is not the potency of your chakra that made me lose control. It is your hatred. Well, if you can't handle it, then do not try to use it. I am hatred. It comes with my chakra. But you can make it worse because you want me to lose control, said Naruto. Look up. Cram admitted as he saw the structures. He frowned. He knew the seal. Naruto clapped his hand. You are very knowledgeable about seals. Then again, you have always been seal inside of seal masters. That is just insurance. You are not going anywhere. Unless I say you are. If more than 6 seal of chakra come out of a seal, that will fall down and restrain you. With that said, it will be better if you allow me to use your chakra without doing anything funny to interrupt the progress. A human doing the same. A child nonetheless. It was humiliating. I have no plans of remaining here until you decide to transform me to another host. I will make my escape. I know you will try. I would try as well if I was locked up in a cage. But I will not let you go. I know that you hate humans. If you tried to force your way off the seal, you would likely kill me first, and then incinerate my body to make sure I'm stay dead. But let us make a deal that gives you a bit of freedom. Of course the seal will still be locked, but we can work out something. At that moment, Naruto's eyes snapped open as Jiraiya's feet was inches away from his face as he ducked. The wind rustling his hair as Naruto grabbed Jiraiya's leg. Jiraiya raised both hands surrendering. Why are you attacking me? Said Naruto. You are open, Jiraiya said with a shrug. As Naruto looked at the man. Is that how we're gonna play, Sensei? If one is open, we attack them. It's not a game, but it's a one-way street exercise. I'm the master and you're the student here, said Jiraiya. He felt a bit uncomfortable with Naruto having analyzed to attack him. If he was merely left open, that is not fair, said Naruto. Here's my rule. To determine if you're still worthy of training me, I will attack you once you're left open. I see no value of being held by someone that is weaker than me. Jiraiya looked at Naruto. You still have a long way to go, brat, he said, as he sat down beside the blonde. They were still in the river country. It has been a week, and he already has plans. He would have liked to start with other things, but he had something to do first. Not to mention he still needed to see Snaddy. The woman had been rather forceful in her letter, so he had to go. And he had other urgent matters to deal with, and he couldn't do them with Naruto. But even if he was gonna leave Naruto, it wouldn't be much of a problem with the training the blonde had to go through. After all, Naruto did his own training when he came to ninjutsu. Even as his sensei, he only informed Naruto of the basics, and the blonde did everything on his own. When they do get to fire, he would only teach Naruto the basics and the jutsu that he knew. The blonde would train by himself. He had shown Naruto some Kenjutsu, some Taijutsu, and also some Genjutsu. Naruto wasn't really good with Genjutsu, so they decided to focus on showing him how to break out of them. Trouble? Jiraiya glanced at Naruto for a moment before he shook his head. No, I was just sorting out my thoughts. What were you doing anyway? Ah, when you interrupted me, said Naruto. I was having a delightful conversation with the Kyuubi regarding the use of his chakra. You've loosened the seal before to allow me to draw out as much chakra as possible, but there was nasty consequences to that. Jiraiya frowned as he still hadn't told Snaddy about the incident. She would freak out, but he believed it was necessary. Why have so much power inside of you and not learn how to use it? Besides, with the way that Minato designed the seal, it was designed for Naruto to control the power. The key was for this purpose. The cage could still be unlocked while keeping the Kyuubi seal. However, if Naruto was consumed by the power, the Kyuubi got free. Don't remind me, said Jiraiya. The toads won't give me the key again after that incident. As Jiraiya grumbled, they had questioned his decision. Well, he was close to dying from that attack. Jiraiya laughed. It would have been such a miserable end if his last thing was to die and release that beast upon the world. It would surely leave a trail of destruction in his path, and who would be blamed for it? Most of all, Naruto would be gone. He would have ended Minato's legacy. Naruto shrugged. He had already seen the key at this point, and he copied and memorized it. But without seeing it once again, he wouldn't be able to recreate it. The lock was hidden and the seal itself was worthy of a Uzumaki. For greatness, we have to take risks, Sensei. If everything came easy, things would be difficult. My conversation with the Bijo was centered on it allowing me to use this chakra freely. Of course I can still use it freely, but when forcefully taken and consumed by anger, it leads to a situation that we both rather avoid. Jiraiya looked towards him. Did he say yes? Of course not, said Naruto. The Bijo wants to leave a cage, said Naruto with a shake of his head. Even so, I still want to learn how to control the power. We are fine with at least 2 tails, but anything more than that, it starts to become a problem. I'm okay with that, but you must understand that power alone does not determine things, Naruto, said Jiraiya. You can control the Bijo power and still yet unable to do anything. Sensei, you should know that there are such things as soft power. And I understand. Orochimaru doesn't use his physical power to entice his mad followers. He speaks to them in a language that they can understand. That is politics. But the power of words cannot be underestimated. You can change things with words. You can influence how people look at things with words. But as Shinobi, there come a time where words cannot save your life or protect what you value. That is where this power comes into play. Don't you think so, Sensei? Jiraiya nodded. Sometimes Naruto spoke like someone that was 3 times his age, someone wise and knowledgeable. But yet he was still a brat. These were just some times. I see Sensei taught you well, said Jiraiya. It was necessary, said Naruto. So, what's gonna happen now, he asks. I was getting that, said Jiraiya. But guys, it'll be in episode right here. If you want to see next parts, then do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends and social media platform. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.